All right, guys, so we have some new information from the January 6th committee about just how directly involved the Proud Boys were and how they led in many respects. So let's watch, and then we'll break it down as we go.
We've obtained substantial evidence showing that the president's December 19th tweet calling his followers to Washington, D.C. on January 6th energized individuals from the Proud Boys and other extremist groups. I'd like to play a brief video highlighting some of this evidence.
I love his Mississippi accent, by the way.
My name is Marcus Childress, and I'm an investigative counsel for the Select Committee to investigate the January 6th attack on the United States Capitol.
What do you want to call them? Give me a name. Give me a
white
name.
Supremacists and
white
like me to condemn. Proud Boys. And right
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by.
After he made this comment, Enrique Tarrio, then chairman of the Proud Boys, said on Parler, "Standing by, sir." During our investigation, we learned that this comment during the presidential debate actually led to an increase in membership from the Proud Boys.
Would you say that Proud Boys members increased after the stand back, stand by comment?
Exponentially. I'd say tripled probably, with the potential for a lot more eventually.
And did you ever sell any stand back and stand by merchandise?
One of the vendors on my page actually beat me to it, but I wish I would have made a stand back, stand by shirt.
On December 19th, President Trump tweeted about the January 6th rally and told attendees, "Be there, we'll be wild." Many of the witnesses that we interviewed were inspired by the president's call and came to D.C. for January 6th. But the extremists, they took it a step further. They viewed this tweet as a call to arms. A day later, the Department of Justice describes how the Proud Boys created a chat called the Ministry of Self-Defense Leadership Chat. In this chat, the Proud Boys established a command structure in anticipation of coming back to D.C. on January 6th. The Department of Justice describes Mr. Tarrio coming into possession of a document called the 1776 Returns, which describes individuals
They're not really hiding it, right? 1776 returns.
Occupying key buildings around the United States Capitol. The Oath Keepers are another group that the committee investigated.
You better get your ass to D.C., folks, this Saturday.
Yeah, if you don't, there'll be no more republic. But we're not going to let that happen. It's not even an if. It's either President Trump is encouraged and bolstered and strengthened to do what he must do, or we wind up in a bloody fight. We all know that. The fight's coming.
The Oath Keepers began planning to block the peaceful transfer of power shortly after the November 3rd election. And according to the Department of Justice, Stuart Rhodes, the Oath Keepers leader, said to his followers that we were not going to get through this without a civil war. In response to the December 19th, 2020 tweet by President Trump, the Oath Keepers focused on January 6th in Washington, D.C. In response to the tweet, one member, the president of the Florida chapter, put on social media, "The president called us to the Capitol. He wants us to make it wild." The goal was for the Oath Keepers to be called to duty so that they could keep the president in power, although President Trump had just lost the election. The committee learned that the Oath Keepers set up quick reaction forces outside of the city in Virginia where they stored arms. The goal of these quick reaction forces was to be on standby just in case President Trump invoked the Insurrection Act.
Did the Oath Keepers ever provide weapons to members?
I'm going to decline to answer that with them at grounds for due process grounds.
In footage obtained by the committee, we learned that on the night of January 5th, Enrique Tarrio and Stuart Rhodes met in a parking garage in Washington, D.C.
There's mutual respect there. I think we're fighting the same fight, and I think that's what's important.
The committee learned that the Oath Keepers went into the Capitol through the east doors in two stack formations. The DOJ alleges that one of the stacks went into the Capitol looking for Speaker Pelosi, although they never found her. As the attack was unfolding, Mr. Tarrio took credit. In documents obtained by the Department of Justice, Mr. Tarrio said in an encrypted chat, "Make no mistake, and we did this." Later on that evening, Mr. Tarrio even posted a video which seemed to resemble him in front of the Capitol with a black cape, and the title of the video was Premonition. The evidence developed by the Select Committee and the Department of Justice highlights how each group participated on the attack on the Capitol on January 6th. In fact, the investigation revealed that it was individuals associated with the Proud Boys who instigated the initial breach at the Peace Circle at 12:53 p.m. Within 10 minutes, rioters had already filled the Lower West Plaza. By 2 o'clock, rioters had reached the doors on the West and the East Plazas. And by 2:13, rioters had actually broken through the Senate wing door and gotten into the Capitol building. A series of breaches followed. At 2:25 p.m., rioters breached the east side doors to the Rotunda. And then right after 2:40 p.m., rioters breached the east side doors near the Ways and Means room. Once the rioters infiltrated the Capitol, they moved through the crypt, the Rotunda, the hallways leading to the House chambers, and even inside the Senate chambers.
All right, so there you have it. Basically, what they're trying to lay out here is this idea that the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys sort of led the riot, led the attempted insurrection. they believed if they occupied a bunch of these federal buildings that they could block the transfer of power that was supposed to happen in Congress, and that if they do that long enough, then, they'll throw it back to the states, and then the states can recertify, and they can, rule that Trump is actually the one who gets to stay in power. So that's what they were attempting to do. Ultimately, I think most of these people are just LARPer weirdos, and they're losers, and they just never had any chance of success. But perhaps they just convinced themselves they're part of something special and bigger than them, and so they were all in favor of doing it. But I bet a lot of them, have already gone down on charges, and I bet a lot of the other ones will go down on charges because, a lot of those things that you see on the video, like the breaking into the Capitol, those things are crimes, pure and simple. And so they'll probably get the book thrown at them. But I guess the main takeaway here is the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys were more in charge and more playing a leadership role than anybody else previously realized, and perhaps they'll be able to uncover, some sort of connections between those groups and some people in Trump world and some staffers around Trump, or those people and whatever, the right-wing media ecosphere like the Steve Bannons and the Alex Joneses, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, they're trying to uncover all of the facts on the ground as this thing unfolded, and they were learning there was more organization from these groups than anybody previously thought, even though this thing clearly didn't have much chance of success, and these people are comical losers. But again, we'll see. I don't know what the outcome of this committee is going to be. Ultimately, it could just end up being the theater, and that's the end of it, or maybe you do get some high-profile indictments and some high-profile convictions. But at the very least, I do think this impacts public perception and political opinions. And, these numbers are nothing to scoff at. Where are the numbers? Right here. These numbers are nothing to scoff at. Nielsen, whopping 20 million people watched January 6th committee opening hearing last night, and then they give the specifics. And yeah, I think this is probably the highest it'll be. It'll probably go down as time goes by, but anybody who's fancies themselves a moderate or an independent, slowly but surely, they're going to run for the doors and run away from Trump and his wing of the Republican Party. So, I'll keep covering it if I see things that are interesting, but there you have it. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.